After years of sitting on the sidelines of the electric vehicle race, Mercedes is now going all in with its EQ sub-brand, and this is the latest one. What's up, folks? I'm Dave Undercoffler, editor-in-chief of Autolist.com, a sister company to CarGurus. Today we're testing this. It's the Mercedes-Benz EQE. It's an all-electric sedan that slots under the EQS and is a similar position in Mercedes lineup as the E-Class sedan that's gas-powered. This model starts at about $76,000, has up to 305 miles of all-electric range, and it looks like this, for better or worse. So is that going to be enough to compete with the Tesla Model S, the Lucid Air, the Audi e-tron GT, and the Genesis Electrified G80? Let's go find out. But before we do, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you can get alerts on all of our future updates. All right, so let's start by taking a look at the exterior of this EQE. The one we're testing today is the EQE 350. That's the base model. On top of that, there's also the EQE 500 and an EQE AMG version. We'll tell you more about those two other models in a little bit. Regardless of which EQE you choose, they all largely look like this. It's a very sort of jelly bean-like profile. It cuts through the wind, has a really low drag coefficient, so that's good for efficiency. The problem is it gives the car kind of an odd shape versus some of its other gas-powered sedans, so some buyers may not like that. Looking more closely at the front, there are lots of Mercedes-Benz logos just in case you forget what you're driving. You've got one on the hood, the sort of traditional emblem here. You've got a massive logo in the center of the grille, and then if you look closely, you've got lots of mini Mercedes emblems just to drive home the point that this is a Benz. Otherwise, you've got LED headlights. Those are standard on all models of the EQE. And then under this hood here, you may be expecting a frunk or some storage space, but unfortunately, that's not the case. Turning to the side, this gives you a really good look at the aerodynamic profile of this car and how different it is from a traditional gas-powered sedan. In terms of dimensions, the length and width of this EQE is about the same as the Tesla Model S, give or take half an inch here and there. If you compare this to a gas-powered E-Class sedan from Mercedes, the overall length is just up about 2.5 inches on this EQE versus the E-Class, but the wheelbase on this model is 7.5 inches longer, which means the wheels on this are tucked much farther into the corners than on the E-Class sedan. And while we're talking about wheels, the standard size on the EQE is 19 inches. We've got optional 20-inch versions on our car. Finally, at the back, again, you get another look at the aerodynamic styling of the EQE. Overall, the look still is very much like the larger EQS sedan. It's hard to tell these vehicles apart if they're on the road and you see one from afar. You've got the EQE badging down below, and then this is a sedan, so the trunk opens rather than a hatchback. So normally in our videos, this is where we would pop the hood and show you what's underneath. Unfortunately, on this Mercedes EQE and the larger EQS, you can't even do that. Mercedes won't even let you pop the hood. I guess they really don't want you to see what's underneath, so we're just gonna have to imagine that the electric motor is under there. How big is it? Well, this is the EQE 350 with 4MATIC all-wheel drive. So this is a 90.6 kilowatt-hour battery. It has dual electric motors for a total of 215 kilowatts of power. In terms of horsepower and torque, 288 horsepower, 564 pound-feet of torque on this model. In terms of range, it has 260 miles of EPA-rated range and will do 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. You can also get this EQE 350 with just rear-wheel drive. That's the base model. It has the same electric motor and battery, but the range jumps up to 305 miles, while the torque drops to 391. 0 to 60 time also goes up a little bit to 6.2 seconds. You also have the EQE 500. That's a dual motor all-wheel drive model with 300 kilowatts total power, the same 90.6 kilowatt hour battery, a 260 mile range, 402 horsepower, 633 pound-feet of torque, and a 0 to 60 time of 4.5 seconds. Finally, at the top of the lineup is the AMG EQE. It has the same battery, but range drops to 225 miles, power jumps up to 677 horsepower and 738 pound-feet of torque, and 0 to 60 drops to 3.2 seconds. All right, so let's put all that into context. A brand new Tesla Model S is the same price as the EQE that we're testing today, but it has more horsepower, a faster 0 to 60 time, and a bigger battery. So which would you choose, the long-standing Tesla Model S or the EQE we've got here? Let us know in the comments below. All right, now turning to the interior of the EQE, this is probably my favorite part about this entire car. There's a lot to like, so let's get started. For one, you've got a 12.8-inch screen here and then another 12.3-inch screen here. These are both OLED screens. This user interface Mercedes calls MBUX, M-B-U-X. It's really nicely executed. It's much better than what you're finding on rival models, especially what's in BMW these days is really poorly executed. I like this. A couple of reasons why. For one, no matter what you've got on the screen up here, you have dedicated climate controls down here. They're not not buttons, which I do prefer, but the touchscreen works pretty well and they're always there. I like that. You don't have to go through a lot of menus to get through fan speed or to get to the climate control temperature. That's really handy. It has wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. If you're looking for physical buttons, you've got them down below. You've got the different drive modes you can put the car in. You also have volume and mute buttons over here. But overall, very nicely executed screen, so kudos to Mercedes for that. One other little surprise and delight feature I noticed just this morning, it's Good Friday today, so when I turned the car on, I got a Happy Easter welcome message, and now you see this grass and flowers and little Easter egg. Nice little decor there. It's also on this home button. You can see it over here. Kind of a nice little feature, kind of fun. Other goodies that I really like, this screen is completely configurable to a variety of different modes and information settings. We've got a standard 3D audio system that just sounds incredible, and then you've got this panoramic moonroof with a panel for the rear passengers that's pretty cool. And as I mentioned, we're testing the loaded Pinnacle trim. So this is about $93,000 as you see it here. So that adds goodies like a heads-up display that has a lot of information. It's a really big display. It'll show you your navigation turn by turn, which is pretty cool. That also adds these really supple leather seats. They're heated in the back, they're cooled up front. I also have a heated steering wheel and a heated windshield. And finally, another thing I really like about all EQE models is the materials and the layout of this cabin. I like this wood right here. It's a unique design without being too weird. It's warm and welcoming. It's got the really nice dash here with the contrast stitching. And if you're so inclined, you can get that wild Mercedes-Benz hyperscreen that you've seen in the EQS that basically just gives you screens across the entire dashboard. Finally, in terms of connectivity, there are a ton of USB-C ports sprinkled throughout the cabin. I've got 2 down below in this really nice storage area. I've got 2 more in here, and then next to that is my wireless smartphone charging. There's another 2 in here, and then finally 2 more in the back seats. Turning to the rear seats, if you've seen our videos, you know the drill. I put the front seat to where I would have it. So basically I'm sitting behind myself. I'm 6'1", plenty of room here all around. Headroom, knee room, leg room for my feet. This is one area where the EQE really excels. Not only is the front seat comfort really impressive, but so is the rear seat. In terms of space, you definitely have more space back here than a Tesla Model S or Mercedes-Benz E-Class sedan, so that's pretty cool. Other nice things that I like about sitting back here is that it's really open and spacious. It feels really nice. This is a sort of compact car in the sense that the greenhouse, all the glass, feels sort of compressed, but once you get inside it, you don't feel claustrophobic, so that's a nice trick. One thing that's helping that is this glass roof above the rear passengers. That's a really nice addition. Does wonders to really open up the cabin, so that's pretty cool. You also have these Napa leather seats, and remember they're heated back here as well. You've got your own climate control functions, and then down below, as I mentioned, a pair of USB-C charge ports. When it comes to cargo space, the EQE actually has a fair amount. It's 15 cubic feet of space back here. That's more than the Mercedes-Benz S-Class, that's the gas version, or the E-Class, but it does lag behind the Tesla Model S. That has 25 cubic feet of space, but remember, the Tesla Model S is a hatchback, so it gives you more space to work with. All right, drive impressions. Now there's some good stuff and some bad stuff. We're gonna start with the good stuff first. For one, the ride quality and the smoothness of this car is exactly what you'd expect from Mercedes and for an electric vehicle. It's really quiet, very comfortable. The suspension is really nicely tuned. You can hit big bumps, small bumps, no matter what. It's a quiet, comfortable ride, so that's really great. I also really like that you can dial up or down the levels of regenerative braking just using these paddles in the back of the steering wheel. I see that in some EVs, it's really handy. I've been keeping it in the strong mode, that's the strongest version. It basically allows for one pedal driving, and that's been really helpful and a really great way to generate some extra power as you're slowing the vehicle down. But what about the bad stuff? Well, the first one is this car has 288 horsepower. In 2023, that is absolutely not nearly enough power for a car that's this big, this heavy, and this expensive. That's something you would expect on maybe a midsize or small crossover or SUV. Doesn't do the job here, especially when you're on the freeway and you floor it on an on-ramp or to pass somebody. Most electric vehicles these days, especially $92,000, $93,000 vehicles like this, just sort of push you back in your seat. It's not the case here. It's pretty inadequate, and that's been frustrating on this EQE. The second thing I don't like is the way this brake pedal is programmed. I like the regenerative braking, but Mercedes has set this up so that when you come off the throttle, even before you touch the brake, it will move the brake pedal to where it would be if you had started using the brakes right away. So then when you go to touch the brake pedal, it's in a different position and it feels different than you expect it to. That takes a lot of getting used to, and even after I was used to it, I still don't like it. Finally, the third thing I don't like about this EQE is the visibility. It is terrible in this car. It's particularly hard to see out of the back, out the rear window, because it's so compressed, the rear window is so small. It may not look like it on the outside of the car, but it is the case once you're here in the driver's seat. Making matters worse is the A pillar here and the B pillar there. They're both pretty big, so yeah, overall, very hard to see out of this car. Another thing our test car has is an optional rear wheel steering system. It allows for up to 10 degrees of rear wheel steering. It's a $1,300 option. I have to say, I haven't noticed much of a difference when you're actually driving the vehicle, but when you are in a tight parking spot, the turning radius on this car is remarkably small, so that's pretty cool. All right, folks, there you have it, our review of the all-new 2023 Mercedes-Benz EQE 350. Pros? Well, we like the sumptuous, quiet cabin, the really smooth ride, and all of the tech inside. Cons? Well, it's not too fun to drive. 288 horsepower just isn't enough, especially on a large $92,000 electric vehicle. And the tech specs of this EQE just don't compete with the Tesla Model S. Finally, not everyone is going to love this shape. So for reviews or listings of this EQE or anything else you're shopping for, new or used, be sure to check out CarGurus.com. And before you go, like and subscribe to this channel so you can get alerts on all of our future updates. We'll see you out there.